after sinking on last week's report from Hindenburg Research that accused Adani of fraud and stock price manipulation. Let's dig further into both the company and the man behind them with Seema Modi and Robert Frank. Welcome to both of you. Seema, we'll start with you on why this is having such a big impact, not just in India, but around the world.
Well, he really needed this, right? A fully subscribed $2.5 billion equity sale led by Abu Dhabi, Goldman Sachs. We didn't really see too many retail investors. And as you pointed out, Kelly, the largest equity sale India has seen. What it's done is it's helped stop the downward decline that we've seen in Adani's stock price over the past week for now. But in the meantime, over the last week, we've still seen billions of dollars in market value erased due to these stock price allegation concerns.
Wow. And what do they boil down to? You know, when we hear fraud and manipulation, you know, and this is the most powerful man in the country, it sounds like.
He is. And the Hindenburg report, they claim that Adani is accused of stock price manipulation using shell companies that are then using their money to pump up the stock of Adani Enterprises. So it's a wide-ranging report that really raises some big concerns about who is many times seen as the biggest and most powerful name in India.
What do we know about him, Robert?
Well, Kelly, he was like a supernova of wealth. Last year, he became the world's second richest man at $155 billion. Remember, last year was a year that all the top 10 billionaires in the world lost money. He gained $55 billion. He sort of came out of nowhere. He has just over the past 4 trading days lost around $30 billion. It's one of the biggest sort of wealth losses in a short period of time that we've seen recently. And as Seema said, you know, he had a very good day today. At least one of his main companies, Adani Enterprises, saw their shares increase. Some of the other shares, you know, it's a whole complex of companies here, very complicated, and there are multiple shares of companies that trade. Some of those traded down today. They set new limits on those shares. But the big challenge now is his debt. He's got about $26 billion in debt across this group. The bonds, some of which are U.S. traded, are now trading around 73 cents on the dollar. So, yes, he had this offering that, you know, went off today. That was a good day for him. But there are these bigger questions that relate to the debt. And if the debt's trading at a discount, you know, what does that say about the equity?
And has he done enough, Seema, to kind of address the concerns at the heart of this? And what's been the reaction by the public in India?
Well, it's interesting to look at, to Robert's point, the amount of debt that's on its balance sheet and where it's been getting loans from. So about 40% is held by Indian banks, and that's why we've seen a huge sell-off in some of the biggest financial names in India, from State Bank of India, Yes Bank, life insurance, all down about 8 to 9% over the past 10 days. At the same time, as Adani has been growing its empire, their exposure to foreign banks has actually been increasing as well. There was a recent acquisition of a cement company by Adani last year for $10.6 billion. That was underwritten by Barclays, Standard Chartered, Deutsche Bank as well. And then private equity has played a role as well. Warburg Pincus recently purchasing a stake in a port in India for $100 million. There's Apollo, who we spoke to a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
They gave Adani a $750 million loan. That's the Mumbai International Airport, which is majority owned by Adani. So his tentacles are really all over the infrastructure story.
Is that, Robert, kind of reinforcing some of the questions being raised here?
It is. And, you know, the other broader question, which just any investor would ask, is how does a stock go up 3,000% in just 5 years, which now trades at a multiple at a PE of over 400 times? I mean, setting aside all of the offshore allegations, everything else, just any stock that's up 3,000% in 5 years has a 400 multiple would raise questions to any investor, let alone a short seller.
What do you think the significance, you know, $2.5 billion, while big by the Indian secondary market point of view, is not, it's a drop in the bucket of what this company and this man is worth. What would be the best use of those proceeds, Robert?
Well, they're going to expand the shareholder base. They're going to pay down some of that debt. And I think the question now is, you know, Abu Dhabi already had about $2 billion sunk into this company. It had to sort of follow that with the $400 million assist on this 2.5 offering. So they were in. A lot of high net worth investors in India were also investors in this. So the question is, what is the real shareholder base of these companies feel? Have they kept their faith? Or do they continue to lose their faith going forward? So that's why tomorrow's trading and the rest of the week will be really interesting to watch.
Absolutely. Even this share sale being completed doesn't feel like that's the end of the story by any stretch.
Absolutely.
Guys, thank you for now. Robert Frank and Seema Modi.